Think for a minute about how a person looks on the screen. In this video, we're going to be considering two framing principles that undergird the entire art of cinematography: symmetry and the rule of thirds. Although this video is only a few minutes long, you can spend an entire lifetime practicing these two principles. In fact, you'll be working on them until you're old and gray, so start laughing at yourself now. These two rules, well, technically they're not rules, they're more like guidelines. You can actually break these rules under the right circumstances. But the first rule, let's talk about that, is symmetry. When you put a person or object in the middle of the frame, you're heavily emphasizing it, saying, I really want you to look at this. Symmetry is balanced. It just looks right. It feels right. So we want to use it a lot, especially on straight angles that are looking at just one person. Dial into a medium or cowboy shot with just a little headroom, center the speaker, and boom, you are good to go. Let me be really clear though, symmetry is only about balancing left and right. It's not about balancing top and bottom. In fact, balancing top and bottom, that doesn't really work on video. You want to kind of keep that person's head up. We'll talk about that, about why, in a minute. We want to shy away from symmetry, especially though when we're including more than one person, or if there's an instrument involved and that instrument is asymmetrical, which most of them are, or if you're using a side angle. It's in these times when we turn to the second principle, which is the rule of thirds. On long car rides and in boring classes, this is what I use to doodle to keep myself awake. And mostly, a lot of the times, I play tic-tac-toe with myself. Have you ever played tic-tac-toe? Well, when we frame with the rule of thirds, we divide the screen into thirds, both vertically and horizontally, making a tic-tac-toe board. We want to put the important objects along these lines, pointing to the points of interest, especially where the lines intersect. I want to encourage you to actually do your own research. Google the rule of thirds. I'm going to put some links to some other videos that you totally should check out, but this is a very common principle in all of the visual arts, especially painting and drawing, photography, video. There's actually a whole psychology built into this, that our eyes actually don't focus on the center of the video. Our eyes focus on kind of these hot spots. That center of the video, that's really a dead zone, a cold spot, really. So the one rule is to keep the subject's head out of that cold spot. Don't put the person's head right in the middle. That's not where the eyes focus. Although you can totally break this rule and put the head in the middle if they're far away, like in a wide shot, or very close up in a close shot. So the center is cold, but these lines, they are warm. And those intersection points, those lines touch each other, those are like red hot. So check out these examples of framing according to the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds really comes into play when shooting a side angle. You want more space in front of the subject than behind them. We call this looking space. It's a wonderful communication technique because leaving 2/3 of the space in front of the speaker, it invites the viewer to enter into the conversation that's happening. Video is all about movement, so you want to put things that move along those lines. A mouth moving, hand gestures, a guitar, piano, drums. You want to avoid shots that have no movement at all. For example, a front shot of the pianist's head. I see this a lot. It's a very weak shot because nothing is moving. It's boring to look at. Same thing for keys and organ. Even with drums and percussion, it always looks better when we can see the head of the drum being struck rather than just a picture of the front of the drums. We want to see the action. Focus on the action. Don't settle for lousy framing. I encourage you, get creative. If you don't have a good shot that lines up, try another camera from another angle or another zoom level, or be really brave and ask the musicians to move. We've spoken to the musicians and there's kind of this general rule that they're not supposed to stand in front of each other. It's called blocking. So be brave and go and ask them to move, and it helps them, remind them, that helps them to communicate their music, their worship, their message with greater enthusiasm, with greater excitement to all those who are watching over the live video stream. Well, this video should hopefully give you a lot to think about. Keep an eye out for the rule of thirds when you're binge watching a Netflix show or just chilling out and watching a movie. Check out this clip.